fans, today we are talking about Day Shift. Day Shift is a new film that is now streaming on Netflix. It's a vampire action thriller type of movie. This film is directed by J.J. Prowler or Peeler. I forget the last name. His first name's JJ. It could be something else. JJ Powell, maybe. The film stars Jamie Foxx. It stars Snoop Dogg. It stars Dave Franco. It stars Megan Good. It stars a host of other pretty talented people too. This movie takes place in Los Angeles. Jamie Foxx plays a character named Bud, who pretends to be a pool cleaner by day, but he's really a vampire hunter. He gets paid to take some of the stuff off the vampires and sell them for money. Now Bud has to try to find enough money to try to help his daughter and his wife out because they're moving to Florida. He's trying to keep them there, so he has to come up with enough vampire kills that are going to equal 10 grand, and he needs that 10 grand so that it can convince his wife to keep his daughter here in Los Angeles with him. So he goes on a rampage of killing vampires. And the more he does that, the more things go wrong, as typically would happen in a movie like this. And that is the basic story I can give without giving away spoilers. Cast for this movie. First of all, we do need a lot more black leads in movies like this. We need a lot more black-led casts in terms of fantasy, sci-fi, monster movies, the whole shebang. We need a lot more of those type of movies. So I loved the premise and the setup of Jamie and Snoop and these guys being in this movie. Like Jamie Foxx, I've always really liked Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx brings the right amount of charisma to a role like this, so you know he's gonna be a badass, and you know he's gonna make it look and sound really cool. Also, Snoop Dogg is in this movie, and who doesn't like Snoop Dogg? Like, okay, maybe there are people out there, maybe you don't really rock with Unk's music like that, but I bet you if Snoop Dogg asked you to smoke with him, you would say yes. I bet you would. Don't try to act like you wouldn't. If Snoop came up to you right now and said, roll something up, you trying to tell me you wouldn't? And of course you have Megan Good in a movie like this, which we're gonna put my horny thoughts about Megan Good on the back burner for now. Let's talk about this film and why I actually had a really fun time watching it. I like the premise and the setup in this movie. I like the fact that there's a whole world, a whole vampire mythology that is kind of teased and hinted at here. It's not just that there are vampire hunters and there are vampire hunters hunting in the middle of the day, and there are things that vampires are doing to try to, you know, get out in the sunlight, because we know that they hate their sunlight. But there's also like a whole vampire hunter union that is established in this movie. To see some of the black market stuff going on with vampires, I was like, okay, this is all really interesting. Are they going to build on this mythology for a sequel? That's why I'm telling you to watch this movie, so that we can boost this movie's numbers, so that we can get a sequel, because unfortunately they don't spend that much time fleshing all of that stuff out. But the premise at least is there. Also really like the soundtrack for this movie. It takes place in LA, so you know there's gonna be a lot of LA and California themed songs. Almost all of the songs that I hear in this movie are heavily spun in my rotation with my music that I listen to. The biggest praise I can give this movie is that it does have a shit ton of action sequences in them. Luckily, these are the special kind of action sequences that you're really interested in watching. They're not the ones that are poorly filmed that you're only watching because a bunch of loud, exciting stuff is happening on screen. A lot of the action sequences in here are filmed like they would be filmed for John Wick. And I like the way that the vampires themselves are depicted in battle. Like, yeah, they're strong and they're fast. There's a little bit of gun fu involved in terms of taking them out. Vampires are also pretty flexible. Like, they can bend and contort their bodies into weird shapes, weird movements, and it just kind of makes all of the action sequences, no pun intended, feel a little bit more malleable, a little bit more flexible at the very least, and a little bit more unpredictable, because you're not really sure what the vampire or the person trying to kill the vampire is going to do to actually take them out. So in terms of the action sequences and the stunt work, it's all very good. The choreography is really good. Everything is filmed gloriously within camera. There's not a shit ton of cuts. You could see everything as it's happening, and I appreciate action movies that take the time to actually let us see the damn action. Everything in this movie is also riding on a partnership that's established in the movie between Dave Franco's character and between Jamie Foxx's character, Bud. It's a dynamic you've seen before, sure, but it works for this movie. You have two people that are like the polar opposites at how they go about their job. There's bound to be some good conflict and some interesting, funny moments here. But the big problem I have is that it feels like this movie is a hint and a tease at a bigger, better movie, except this isn't that big or better movie. It's just the movie that is hiding within that movie. What I'm basically saying is that the mythology and the world building in this movie, it's only hinted at, it's only teased at, and it's kind of frustrating because you feel like they could have gone further in some spots, really fleshing some of this shit out. Because you're watching the movie, you're like, ooh, okay, they're talking about this. I want to know more about that. And then the movie doesn't really revisit these things as it blows through them, trying to get you to the action scene. The partnership between Dave Franco's character and between Jamie Foxx's character, it's really fun to watch. You feel like you needed a little bit more of it. You just feel like you need more of everything. You needed more Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is actually not in the movie as much as you want Snoop to be in the movie. Megan Good is amazing to look at, and she does fine in the movie, but I want to be able to look at Megan Good more than I actually got to look at her in this movie. That's not a real criticism. That's just me being horny, so you can throw that part out. Also, the villain characters in this movie, I gotta be honest, I didn't really care for them that much. They feel like villains that are supposed to be in the movie because the movie needs villains, not because they actually feel like they deserve to be there, like they earned their way to be there. There's this whole subplot involving real estate that doesn't really go anywhere, doesn't really mean anything. Day Shift was a really fun, entertaining vampire movie with a lot of great action sequences, a lot of charisma tossed around by Jamie Foxx. And yeah, Megan Good. Megan Good is in the movie. Megan Good is always going to add some points to whatever movie she's in. I don't give a damn if she's not doing anything. That is Megan fucking Good right there. Day Shift was pretty fun, pretty entertaining, didn't blow me away. I'm gonna leave this one in the Daily Planet. Guys, those are my thoughts on Day Shift. It's on Netflix right now. Tell me, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Give me your thoughts on the movie in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show. And if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.